Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
from epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love,
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
so take a seat.
Grab a drink.
And get cozy. Welcome back, book friends. Speaking of cozy, what's making you guys feel cozy these days? So for me this week, I have had a really hard time finding anything that's making me feel cozy. So I try to figure out maybe like something that I haven't tried yet. And I've been drinking tea this week. And it's like this little detox tea that I got from HEB. And that's been kind of helping me. And I've been putting like lemon in that. And it's been helping me just kind of like decompress from long days, decompress from like getting out of my head. And so I would say that's keeping me cozy. What about you guys?
Okay, you guys, it is late July, and I have only enjoyed our pool like 2 times this summer.
Shame.
So I'm trying to make it more of a priority to enjoy the pool because I live like right across from our pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we own a condo unit, and our pool is like 10 steps away from our front door. So I need to use that more. So this past Friday, we've been having summer Fridays at work. So every other Friday, I get half a day off. And
Nice.
so this past Friday was my summer Friday. And I decided to go read by the pool. And it was perfect.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, we spent some time by the pool as well. So I just want to make sure to do that more often. We still have August to go. So
Yeah.
I'm
And
just going to
honestly,
prioritize that more.
this has been a good summer for that because it has not been like super hot like it was
Yeah.
last summer. Last summer was way too miserable to do anything,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
haven't
knock
hit,
on
I mean,
all the
knock on
wood.
wood. Yeah.
Sorry.
We haven't had like those 3-digit days just yet. So
Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't get too much hotter in August. We'll see.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I'd
know.
like to
like
get to
we're
the pool more.
yeah, we're about to head into August, which is like
Yeah.
notoriously the hottest
Usually
month
the hottest.
ever. You know, like Satan's ass. So
I don't know, y'all. Last summer, like, it was pretty bad all summer.
Mhm.
Like, it was
Mhm.
suffocatingly hot all the time. So,
Definitely. Yeah.
anyways, what about you?
So anyone that knows me knows that I love going, not just movies, but going to the theater. I love going to the movie theater. And so I haven't really done that a lot lately. Like probably for the past couple, since COVID, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, like when I was teaching, during the summer, I used to just like pick a day and spend all day in the theater,
Nice.
and just watch movie after movie. And so, Nick and I went to go see a double feature the other day.
Ooh.
Ooh.
We went to go see the new Jurassic World movie, which
Is it good?
I
Okay.
love Jurassic Park, like
Yeah.
anything. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh, okay, good.
It kind of like breathed some new life into the franchise.
Okay.
I think people were kind of getting tired of Chris Pratt's version of Jurassic World.
I mean, I wasn't, but whatever.
I know, but a lot of people were. And so, I mean, we have Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey.
Love.
And so they're a pretty good duo. So
I heard,
I
yeah.
recommend.
Okay.
And then we went to go see Superman,
Okay.
which I had no desire to see and ended up freaking loving it. I thought
Nice.
it was
Okay.
it was like the comic book version of Superman rather than like the dark and gritty version of Superman. And so
Okay.
I really appreciated that. It felt like Smallville, honestly.
Ooh,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
Smallville.
Yeah. Especially like with the campiness, like when they bring in the Daily Planet and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And then last weekend we went to go see Fantastic Four, and that was also kind of in the campy spirit of things instead of like the dark and gritty Avengers.
Right.
And even Avengers is still lighthearted compared to like the DC world, I think.
Right.
But Fantastic Four, like it's set in like a 60s, 70s kind of vibe. And it was just really good. I think Pedro Pascal was a fantastic choice for Mr. Fantastic. And
Awesome.
Vanessa Kirby was a great choice for, like, the casting was just really good.
Yeah.
And, you know, they bring in huge characters that Marvel fans have been dying to see, like Galactus. And so it's really cool. I thought it was really well done, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there. But yeah, that's been keeping me
Yay.
cozy.
Awesome. All right, book friends, before we jump into our discussion today, I'm going to pass it over really quick to Steph.
All right, you guys. So, this is our last discussion on Beach Read by Emily Henry. So, if you're listening to this episode, we are assuming that you've read the whole thing. So, we are going to spoil it all in this episode. So, you've been warned. And before we dive into our discussion, though, we would like to shout out one of our reviewers on Apple Podcasts. So we have a review by Gab Reads, and she says, for a while, I've been listening to podcasts about a lot of different things. I love to read during my free time, and this podcast meshes my two loves together. I love the host, and each personality adds something different. Thank you, Gab
So
Reads. That is
kind.
so
Thank you.
awesome. Love that review. And you
Yeah.
guys, if you are enjoying our podcast and you want to help us continue to grow and help other listeners find our content, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find us. So thank you.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get to our discussion.
Let's
So
dive
much
in.
happens. Like, I know that I said that at our last episode, but this is the end of this book, and I really do love everything that kind of just builds up here. So, last we saw Gus in January, they were still at that 4th of July party. And January was, she was kind of feeling herself because she thought she was being rejected for bathroom sex, right?
Not the bathroom sex.
Not the bathroom sex. That's going to be the title.
That's
That
what
is what
happened.
happened. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right.
Okay, so
It's good.
now
Not the bathroom sex, the title.
those are usually not that good. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
You would know.
Just kidding. Anyways, nothing really more happens at the party. So we're just going to fast forward to what happens next. So Gus and January are heading back home. And Gus, before he leaves January at home, he asks her, like, hey, are you still up for tomorrow? And so January forgot about the New Eden trip. And so she goes, like, what do you mean tomorrow? And he goes, if you still want to go, let me know. And then she demands, well, do you want me to go?
So annoying.
And he responds with, if you want to. And then she was just like, that's not what I asked you. Do you want me to go? And so he says, I want you to do whatever you want. Which, okay, I'm sorry, but that's a non-answer. I hate non-answers like that.
It is.
It was
I hate
painful
this.
to read.
Yes,
Painful
it
to
really
read.
was. I'm like, oh my God, y'all, both of y'all need to stop right now. Anyway, so
Yes.
Yes.
she
Please.
ends up angrily saying, oh, fine, I'll be there. So the next morning she wakes up, there's a huge thunderstorm. She wonders, are we still going? So she texts him again and we start this whole conversation again, right? So he tells her, yes, the trip is still happening, that, it's going to be a rocky trip, but that he's still going. And so they start arguing again over text. And so Gus tells her, if you still want to come, so now going back to what was happening in the car, and January goes, well, dear God, are you trying to kick me out of this? And he's just like, no, I just don't want you to feel obligated. Of course, I want you to come if you want to. So just like keep adding in that little part. And I'm just like, bro,
Yeah.
like quit it. Like y'all both need to
Please.
stop this. Because you know you're going to go anyways. And you know that you're going to want her to go anyways. So y'all both need to just, anyways. So they go, the car ride up there, super awkward. But they go and they get there and they have to hike to where the campsite of New Eden was. So they're looking for where the trailers used to be and where I guess the fire happened and everything. So they have to hike into that. And with the storm out, they had to put on hiking boots and they just had to walk through the storm. So they set up a tent when they get there so they can use their computers, and then they go off to explore the area, look at the different trailers. And at one point, Gus tells January that she can go back to the tent because it was getting too cold. And she, of course, gets upset about that, but then doesn't fight him on it and goes back. So, and she did it because like she kind of saw a look in Gus and she was like, all right, maybe it's not worth fighting him on this one. So she reluctantly goes and she ends up falling asleep in the tent, and Gus returns like a few hours later. He had to do a little research for his book. When Gus tells her that they can start hiking back, January finally voices what's been bugging her and asks him, will you just tell me what's going on? So just finally asking what she's been wanting to ask, right? And when he questions, like, what do you want to know? She says, I want to know all of it. And so he tells her, well, you can ask me anything. And I'm just like, oh my God, dude, just tell her what happened. Like, quit.
Just come out
Like,
with it.
yes, like quit fucking beating around the bush with this. Like, it was, again, like Ethan said, it was so painful to read this freaking
Yes.
chapter. Like, it was just like, good Lord, spit it out. So she finally was like, okay, was that Naomi who called? Right? Because we all know they haven't talked about the phone call yet. So she finally just straight up asked, was that Naomi? And so Gus tells her that no, it was actually his friend Markham, who actually happens to be a girl, and who also happens to be his divorce lawyer, who also happens to be Naomi's friend. So,
And Gus's friend from college.
right, right.
And this is
Super
so
weird.
weird to
Yeah.
introduce this character
Yeah,
like that, because we don't get anything else from her ever.
right.
And so it was like, why is she here? Like, why is it even worth mentioning?
Well, why is it a woman too? Like, are you trying to make January feel more insecure at this point? You know? Like it was just a lot
Well,
happening. A lot of like a lot
I
of
was more bothered by her being a friend and representing both of them in
right,
their divorce.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
It
shouldn't they
seems,
both have their own lawyers in a
methinks it's
divorce?
a little unethical.
Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's
Yeah.
giving unethical. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very weird.
Yeah, I
I don't
didn't
like
like
that.
that because even Gus made a comment saying like, "Oh, we could be talking about my divorce one day, and then the next I see a picture of Markham and Naomi out together." How?
Which is
Why?
why she shouldn't be representing both of them.
Right.
It's very
Yeah,
How is
strange.
that
it's
even
bad taste.
allowed? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then January tells Gus that she felt like Gus really didn't want her on the New Eden trip. And he says, of course, he wanted her there. He just didn't want to be the reason that she spent a whole day in a torched out graveyard, right? And so she tells him too, like, well, I also felt like you didn't want me at Pete's gathering earlier too. And so he is just struggling with dealing with this divorce because apparently it's being drawn out. Apparently, at first he really thought Naomi was going to file the papers for divorce and she never did. And so he never really cared about it. So they've been married this whole time. And so when he finally decided to file himself, she asked him to go out to Chicago to talk to her. And after he left, he thought everything was settled. And then when he got back, the phone call was to tell him that she no longer wants to sign and that she wants to figure things out before they can sign the papers. So she's just making it really hard. And Gus is just having a really hard time with that. So again, like you said, Stephanie, in our last episode, that phone call was definitely not about her. It was about
Yeah.
whatever he's trying to deal with. Trying to deal with a divorce is a big deal, especially with
Right.
Yeah.
somebody that A, left you, and B, doesn't want to deal with it. Like, come on, right? So
Right.
then after Markham tells him about the divorce papers, she also asks Gus, like, hey, what has changed in your life? So I guess like what has sparked him into wanting to file these divorce papers, right? Because he just
Hmm.
recently wanted to file them. And so Gus tells his friend about January, and she said that was not good because, of course, January still has plans on leaving after she kind of settles everything with her dad's house and with her book and everything. And so Gus was telling January that when it comes to January, he acts really stupid and crazy. And so he has been pining over this girl for a while, and she had absolutely no idea. And so January interrupts. She goes, wait, hold on. What do you mean? We never even spoke in college. Like, she has all these bad memories of their interactions in college, which I guess she was super oblivious and not paying attention to it at all because he was explaining everything that he tried to do to get her attention. He would
Yeah.
he would hang back, to try to talk to her. He would ask her for pencils and stuff just to get a word in. He would wait to show up late to class so that he could sit next to her. He tried everything to try to get her attention. And to him, she's the one that hated him, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And so January
Oh
tried
my
to even
God.
say, well, remember, you used to critique all my papers. And he was like, you were the only paper I ever read because you're the only person that I was actually interested in. So she just had a whole different perspective in her head, and he had a whole different
Yeah.
perspective in his head. But he was super into her. She was too. She just couldn't admit it. So then he gets really upset and he says he has no idea what to do, that even though he's had feelings for her, like he doesn't know what to do, that he's not like Jacques. So he starts comparing himself to Jacques, right? And he says that Jacques is the kind that women try to date, and that Gus is nothing like that. He thinks that January is only using him as she works on getting over Jacques and everything that's going on in her life. And that he's the type of guy that women only use, to drunk text or to hook up with. And he tells her that he doesn't want that with January. He's like, I want to be your perfect fucking Fabio, January, but I can't. I'm not. And so he continues to say, I want you. I want you in every way. I want to take you on dates and play with the fucking beach ball in the pool with you, but I'm a wreck, January. I'm trapped in a marriage with a woman who lives with a man, just waiting to be done. I'm on medicine. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to give up smoking for good and even to learn how to meditate. And while that's going on, while I'm a walking dumpster fire, I want you in a way I'm not sure either of us can handle. I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to feel what it would be like to lose you. And so January finally says, then let me be happy with you guys. And then they kiss. So, so much happened here. I'm so glad they finally got everything out in the tent. Like, what did y'all think about?
I I'm over January. Like, I'm so over her. I thought maybe like in this section, like maybe she's really gonna develop, and I'm like, January, you're just wonderful. She's just not.
No.
She's still confusing me here because every piece of dialogue she has with herself is a battle about how she really feels.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks one thing, but her actions do not agree with what she's thinking. She fights it every step of the way until she actually starts to acting like, even then let me be happy with you, Gus. Even that whole time she was still like in her head simmering with the idea of like, I'm so frustrated with him. Why doesn't he like, why has it taken him this long to be this
Right.
vulnerable with me?
Right.
I like, chill, like just chill.
Yeah, I also am. I was so annoyed with this whole like, go if you want to.
Oh
Do
my
you want me
God,
to go?
yes.
Yes.
Only if you want to. Do you want me though? Like, oh my God, it was so
Yeah.
annoying. Like, I can't even describe it any other way. I was so frustrated, annoyed. And like with both of them though,
Yeah.
because like
Yes, Gus
January's
is
just
guilty too.
asking Gus for a straight answer and he kept giving her wishy-washy answers. And like she was making it so clear she needed a straight answer from
Right.
him and
Yeah.
he just wouldn't. And I think the reason this annoys me so much is because my husband does this and I've started to learn that that he literally just doesn't want people to feel obligated, but like when you ask for a straight answer, he always qualifies it with only if you want to. And I'm like, just say if you want to or
Yes.
not.
Oh my God.
You know,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to flip a table. That's what it makes me want to do.
Yeah.
So I was bringing in some personal stuff while reading this. But yeah, again, the miscommunication trope was just getting at me. And God, it was so tough, you guys, for me to get through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I was really frustrated with that part too, just because like I have also experienced that with another guy too. I'm sure you guys know my very first boyfriend. He was very much that way too. Like he just would not give me a straight answer. It was always like, well, if you want, I guess, sure, okay. And I'm like, and at the time, I would always just go anyways. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go because I say I want to go. Like just being very stubborn about it. And now, like I think recently something like that happened, and they're like, well, if you want, I'm like, you're right, I don't want to go. Actually, you can buy. So like, like just be
Boom.
honest, straight
Yeah.
up. You don't want me to go, or if I feel like there's some kind of hesitation from either person, I'm
Hmm.
just not going to go. I'm not going to put myself in a position where either one of us are going to be awkward. And if you question why I didn't go, then maybe you should give me
Yeah.
straight answers next time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, okay. I do want to like clarify that I don't think that that's what Gus was doing here. Like,
Well, we'll find out
it
later
seems
that's
to me,
not. Yeah.
yeah, it seems to me that he was just like really down on himself and he really didn't want to have like force January into what he thought would be an unenjoyable trip for her.
Right.
But she was interpreting it as like he didn't really want her there. So again, miscommunication.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad they finally got through all of that. And so after he finally tells her just how much, which he already did kind of tell her how much he wanted her, but of course the whole phone call thing happened and jacked that all up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he tells her again, and they stay in the tent together. They take their time, enjoying one another several times. And
Hey.
I mean, hey, if you find a tent on the floor comfortable, go for it. And
Also,
so,
it was raining and they're in wet, cold clothes.
yeah,
None of this sounds sexy.
none at all.
Yeah.
None at
Hmm.
all.
No, it's giving Survivor. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they
Yuck.
finish, Gus asks January if she's happy, and she tells him extremely happy, and he tells her, I'm so happy. So the next morning, they finally get up, they leave the site, and they head home. And as they're hiking back, January starts thinking about her and Gus and how far they've come. And she starts thinking to herself, I felt like I had the Gus of Pete's house right then, and I felt a little more like the January of before, too, the one who could fall fearlessly. I searched my stomach, and I hate this part, right, by the way. I searched my stomach for that tight feeling, the sensation of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I could find it if I tried hard enough, but for once I didn't want to. I'm just like, bro, just let yourself be happy. Like, stop. Like, I
yeah.
know that's what she meant by that, right? Like, I know she meant to say, I'm not for once trying to find something that's wrong with the relationship, but still. The fact that she's still thinking about it, it's still there in her head. So they stop at a diner on their way home, and after they banter a bit, January stops to ask him again why Gus had tried to stop her from going on the new Eden trip. So she cannot
Oh
let
my
this go,
God.
y'all. So she's like, okay, Gus, like, tell me, like, for real, but why didn't you want me there? And I was listening to this on audiobook at work, and I'm just like, oh my God. But I will say I love his answer. So it just makes me love Gus a little bit more. And he tells her, I never wanted you to see the world like I see it. And so she goes back to the bet. She's like, but the bet, like, what about what you said? And blah. He elaborates. He said, I just thought that maybe if you tried to write what I write, I don't know. I guess I hoped you realized it wasn't right for you. Not because you're not capable, but because it's just not you. The way you think about things, it's not like that. I always thought the way you saw the world was incredible. And then he continues on to say, when you love someone, you want to make this world look different for them, to give all the ugly stuff meaning and amplify the good. That's what you do. You make beautiful things because you love the world. And maybe the world doesn't always look how it does in your books, but I think putting them out there, that changes the world a little bit, and the world can't afford to lose that. So I think that was such a beautiful sentiment. He just didn't want her to see the bad that is really out there. And New Eden is kind of harsh. That's hard for anyone, you know? So they spend the night together, and January gets a little reminder from her agent, hey, don't forget, you have a book due on September 1st. So that kind of snaps,
Hi,
like,
hello.
right? It's like, don't forget about me.
Yeah.
So, she's still writing, of course. Like, none of this has stopped her from writing, but focus now kind of becomes more of a problem because like Gus and January are super happy and they want to spend all their time together. And so they decide to go back to writing in their separate houses during the day, but they continue to distract each other with their little notes, telling each other that they miss each other until they finally realize that they can use that to their advantage. So they start giving themselves goals, right? If they could write 2,000 words, then they could be in the same room. If they could write 4,000 words, then they could touch, just things like that. So, which, hey, smart, right?
Incentivize. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's the way to do it.
Talk about motivation. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many words they need for the other thing.
That will cost you the whole book.
Right.
One book, please. So at night they start going out more. They start going to restaurants. They start dating pretty much. And one night, as they're leaving one of their dates, they see Maggie and Pete in the bookstore, and they decide to pop in. And Maggie and Pete are drinking wine and celebrating the anniversary of when they first moved out there, which also happened to be January's birthday. So after many glasses of wine, they leave around midnight. But instead of going home, Gus and January decide to walk towards the lake, and they strip their clothes off. They get in. They realize how dumb that was because how
Yeah,
cold
that's
the water
cold.
was. Yeah. Then Gus kisses January and tells her that he loves her. And before he says it, she's thinking in her head, like, I love him, I love him, I love him, but like doesn't say it, right? And so he says it first, and he says it several times to her. And then January responds with, I know, I love you too. And then Gus adds, and to think, you promised you wouldn't fall in love with me. So, so cheesy, but we had to close that little
Yeah.
circle out, right?
Had to do it.
How do you think that their writing challenge is bringing out like more layers in the relationship? And what are your thoughts so far after what happened in the tent? What do you think guys think about the relationship at this point?
I think they're cute, period. That's how I feel. Like, I'm glad that they're at this place. It
Hmm.
seems that they've gotten to this place now that they're kind of, it feels like we're kind of coasting to the end of the book.
Hmm.
I still think that Gus has put more on the line emotionally
Yeah.
than January has. And so for that reason, I don't feel like January's earned this.
Hmm.
At least from a reading perspective. Like, who am I to say like you don't deserve love? But I'm talking
Right.
about from a reader's perspective. It doesn't feel earned because I've just been annoyed with you that much
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
it can't feel like a good payoff. And so I'm hoping that more development comes because the clock is ticking because the book is about to end.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they're cute. Like, it is a cute moment. I'm glad we got more of the Taylor Swift signs during this whole
Yeah.
section. That's probably the cutest that they are together.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's witty, witty banter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, I'm glad for Gus. I'm very happy for Gus. He's
Yeah.
fine. Like, it's his moment. He's earned it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I still want to shake January. Like, stop it.
Right.
And just, yeah, and let yourself be happy. Like,
Yeah.
and stop
Please.
bugging him.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't have much more to add. I co-sign all of that. I was just glad to finally be not reading a miscommunication trope during this part.
Yeah.
So so that part made me happy.
Yeah. I think that I agree, Ethan. Like, it doesn't really feel like she's developing, even though she thinks she is. And, because she
Yeah.
even said it herself. She was like, "Oh, I'm
She thinks
starting
a
to kind
lot.
of," right. She does, yeah. But she even said it herself, like she thinks she's kind of getting some of that old January back, which doesn't really feel like it is because she questions
Yeah.
it so much still. And I don't think she's all in just yet. Like, she's thinking about him a lot in her head, but not communicating that to her partner, right? And so, like, I feel like if she could just talk about her feelings a little bit more and finally deal with what she needs to deal with, because she has not dealt with it.
Right.
Gus has definitely dealt with a lot of his trauma. He's confronted it a lot. He's voiced it. Like, he's been honest with how that has affected him. She hasn't done that yet.
Right.
She
Yeah,
hasn't
he's
brought
working
up.
on it.
Yeah.
He's told her, I'm in therapy. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to quit smoking. All of these
Yeah.
things that he's trying to do to get through it. And she hasn't even read the letter from her dad yet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she's just avoiding it all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that's
It's
so
a
right.
talent. It is a talent to be in your dad's house that he left you, and you
Yeah.
still run away from whatever trauma you're trying to run away from.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she still won't confront it. That is a talent and very stubborn.
Well, and
Very.
she hasn't really confronted it. Like, she hasn't even admitted it to herself, like, that it's a
Right.
problem. She still thinks this is
Exactly.
all Gus's problem.
Yeah, she's like all in her head about
Yeah.
Gus
She still
and
thinks this is Gus's
she's
problem.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
right. Man, we are really okay. Anyways,
I know. Poor,
poor Jen.
yeah, poor Jan.
Moving on.
Okay, speaking of not facing her trauma, right? She finally decides to clean out the master bedroom. She finally decides to face that, because she's been avoiding big bedrooms. She's been kind of sticking to some of the smaller ones. And so when she enters the room, she realizes the room has been cleaned out, and, she even sees a stack of her books there on the nightstand. And so she's just kind of looking around the room, seeing what she needs to get rid of or sell. And Gus ends up finding a safe hidden in one of the tables. They try to open it, but January doesn't know the code. And, of course, she pretty much thinks, like, go figure, I don't really know anything about my dad, right? So after that, they kind of leave that alone. She kind of goes back to avoiding it. So again, not really facing what she really needs to face. But she was really determined to finish her book. She really wanted to finish it. She really wanted something to turn into her agent and her publishers, right? So she bans Gus from the house, only allows him over like an hour each day. She writes all day. She goes to sleep, wakes up, does it all over again. And she lived in what she called her give up pants, which I think was like, I'm just like imagining these like big, baggy, like sweatpants.
Well, like
Cause,
everybody has a pair of give up pants, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Even if I haven't given up, I still wear them.
Yeah. They're also the comfort pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are my Thanksgiving pants.
Right. Right. All of the above.
Yeah.
They serve many purposes.
So she doesn't shower. She barely eats. She like chugs water and coffee all day long. That's all she drinks. And she finally finishes her book on the day of Pete's book event, which happens to be August 2nd. So she finished it a month earlier than what she said she'd finish it. So bravo, January. She sends it over to her agent and tells her it's something different to please not hate her. So she gets up the next day, she drives to FedEx and prints a copy of her draft. And when she gets back, Gus is on the porch waiting for her. And then January finally asks Gus about his progress. Like, again, I have been saying this. I haven't heard
We
anything
don't know
about Gus in his
anything.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he hasn't mentioned it at all. He hasn't talked about how much his progress is, like nothing. And she hasn't either. So she finally asked him, like, hey, how's your book coming along? And he says that he's almost done too. He needs about another week or two and he'll have a good draft as well. So they go to the interview, or they go to the book event, and it happens to be a little book event where they're going to be interviewed by Pete and Maggie. It's like a small event with a few locals, and January wasn't feeling nervous. She was really excited about this. She felt very at ease during this moment. So as they are about to start, she noticed Gus's face had gone pale and his mouth got really tense. And so he follows his gaze to a tiny woman with nearly black curls and blue eyes that tilted up at the corners, complementing her high cheekbones and heart-shaped face. And January realized that she was looking at Naomi. So Naomi shows up, guys. She's there. She noticed how Naomi was looking at Gus, and she knew that she had shown up with intent and she wanted something from Gus. So they kind of get through the event. She kind of has like all her answers already memorized, so she doesn't have a hard time responding to Maggie and Pete. So they get through it, nothing happens. And after it's over, Naomi, of course, stays back, hoping to talk to Gus, and Pete tries to corner her and tries to get her to go away. But they start arguing, and so Gus finally looks at January and says, I should see why she's here, and then just leaves her there. And so, of course, January leaves. She starts crying. And then, as soon as she arrives at her house, she realizes someone was at her porch, and it's Sonia. And I knew this was coming. I was like, okay,
Crazy.
we're literally about to end the book, and I still haven't,
Yeah.
there still hasn't been a confrontation between Sonia and January, which obviously needed to happen, right?
Right.
So she tells her, please, I just need 5 minutes of your time. I need to talk to you. And so January tells her she's not interested in hearing her out. And she just like tries to go inside, but she was having trouble with her keys. And so without January giving her permission, like Sonia starts reading this letter that she wrote to January and pretty much just like explaining everything that happened between her dad and herself, right? And so she starts telling the story and of how she met January's father, which happens to be Walt Andrews. I don't think they've mentioned the name before, have they?
No, I think that was
I
like
don't
the
think so.
only time his name was mentioned.
Yeah, okay. So Sonia starts saying that they met when she was 15 years old, and he happened to be her first date, her first kiss, her first boyfriend, and the first man that she ever told, I love you to. They broke up several months after they went to college, and she didn't hear from him for 20 years. They ran into each other one day on one of his business trips, and he told her that he was newly separated. So this was kind of what January was saying. She kind of called it on how they like got reacquainted, right? And so after they decided to visit each other every weekend, he started looking for a house in town. Sonia thought it was finally happening for them, that they would get married, that they finally got their second chance. He even put in for a work transfer, and he bought the house. So he was getting ready to leave his life. He was getting ready
Fully
to, yeah,
start a new life. Yeah.
exactly. Like completely. I mean, work transfer and everything, like crazy, y'all. Then January's mother was diagnosed with cancer, and he told Sonia that he really needed to be there for her. And so they stayed in touch after that. But then, he was determined to be there for his wife during the diagnosis. And so the calls just became less and less in this, and then not at all. Then she got an email from him one day saying that the mom was, or that his wife was doing better, and that they were doing better. So after the second time she got diagnosed, he calls her feeling scared. He went to go see Sonia. He was looking for comfort pretty much, but then he went back to not calling her and he just stopped seeing her altogether. And then I guess that's when he died. And so Sonia tells January that she felt very heartbroken and angry and that she knows she doesn't have a right to feel that way, but that she does. Then Sonia tells her that her father left her the letter and the key so that Sonia could give it to her one day. And so he knew, I'm sure he knew January's mother was never going to tell her and was never going to give it to her. And so he really wanted January to know the whole story. And so Sonia tells January, and maybe I came because I needed someone to know that I'm sorry too, that I will always miss him too. Maybe I wanted someone to understand I'm a complete person and not just someone else's mistake. And so January realizes that she wasn't angry at Sonia. She told her, it's about him. It's all the things I can never know about him or even ask him what he put my mom through. I'll never know how to build a family or what, if anything, I can trust of what I learned from them. I have to look back on every memory I have and wonder what was a lie. I can't know him any better now. I don't have him. I don't have him anymore. And then that's when Sonia mentions the letters, and January looks confused because she says there's only one letter. And Sonia realizes she hasn't read the letter that her father left her. And so January finally runs inside to read the letter. And in the letter, it was a letter for her birthday. And it happened to like have all these apologies for everything that's happened. And he also put the code for that safe that she found. And it happened to be her birthday. I don't know why she didn't think of that. Like, why don't you try your
Yeah.
birthday? Anyways, so it happened to be her birthday. And on there was also an address for a boat. And so when she got there, she saw that the boat was named January. And she gets on the boat. She opens all the letters. And her dad had written her a letter for each of her birthdays starting when she was born. So I think she was turning 29. So there's about
Hmm.
28 letters plus the one that she already read. And so each one, he pretty much just like wrote about how much he loved her and like how much he loved watching her grow up. I'm not going to get into too much detail because they were very, very sweet and I loved every single one of them, but it would take us forever to get through every single one of those
Yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just pretty much talks about how much he loved her, how much he loved watching her grow up, how much he loved being her father. And so, and really apologizing for everything that happened between them too, just like all of his mistakes that he made. So, what did you guys think about Naomi showing up like that? The way Gus left? Like, what about your perspective on Sonia? A lot happens in this. And, like, what did y'all think of the letters? Do y'all think that's going to help January heal?
There's a lot
Yeah.
here, right?
Yeah.
I like romances, so I knew that this was part of it, right? Like this is the dark moment right before the end. And it's Naomi appearing and it's Sonia appearing. And even though I knew this was coming, it still like didn't scratch the itch that I needed it to because
Mhm.
again, it just felt like, oh, here's Sonia and okay, I accept it, right? Like that it was January's like,
Mhm.
okay. And still, okay. So she's been mad at Sonia apparently this whole time
Mhm.
because her father had an affair.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then she was like, wait, Gus is still married. I'm
Yeah.
Sonia. Like basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And so, and yet she was still trying to be a little high and mighty with her. I was like, you need to calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, come on.
And I get that there's a difference because, you know, her father was very much still in love with her mother, or at least that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're led to believe.
Right.
But
Hmm.
it appears that Gus is no longer in love with Naomi, and that
Right.
is a clear end. But
Hmm.
still, he is still married. So
Yeah.
that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. And we get to the letter scene. Now I can't say that I didn't get a little emotional reading that
Yeah.
whole
Hmm.
scene because they were very sweet.
They were
And
very, yeah.
Yeah.
you could tell that it was just a father pouring his love out for
Yeah.
Right.
but even after that, it's just like all of it is magically like I get it now. Aw.
Yeah. There was no like, I guess we didn't get to see how that affected all the crap that she was dealing with, or
Mhm.
like how she grew from it or anything like that. It was just like the letters happened. They were sweet. Moving on.
Right.
It
Right.
was kind of weird.
It seemed like the whole time the antagonist in this story was Sonia. And now when we finally get
Right.
to her, that's all we see of her. Like we don't
Yeah.
see her again.
Right.
Yeah.
She
D-
gone.
and she's never like, it would have been
Yeah.
more believable to me had we had moments with Sonia throughout the story.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And the same with Naomi. Had we had
Yeah.
moments of her throughout the story, but we get this one instance for both
Right.
characters and we don't
Yeah.
see them again.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I was like,
Yeah.
it seems like it came out of left field.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't
Well,
know.
I was a little bit more worried about Naomi showing up because Gus had said that he would have
Right.
continued
Yeah.
their relationship if she had wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, yeah, they're not divorced yet. And now she's refusing to sign the papers. And I know they're still married. So obviously, he wanted to go talk to her when she showed up out of the blue to this event. And I was worried that maybe she was going to somehow, because she sounds manipulative,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
way that she showed up like that unannounced.
Yeah.
And so I was worried that she was going to manipulate him into staying.
Yeah.
And then when January was realizing the parallels between her relationship with Gus and Sonia's relationship with her dad, I was just like, oh crap, like, this is going to be like a history repeats itself
Yeah.
situation, and she's just going to spiral more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I agree with you, Ethan. Like, this didn't feel like really a resolution to any of this.
Yeah.
None of these situations did.
I agree. It didn't seem like yes, she was like really responding to Sonia as she was talking. Like she was like, I don't want to see you as a complete person. I don't want to hear your side of the story. Like, but there wasn't really much anything else after that either. Like there was to me no closure in that whole situation. And so it was a little bit of a letdown. And I hated the way Gus handled that situation too. Like
Yes.
that could have been handled so much better. Like, dude, you just told her you loved her. You guys
Right.
have literally been having an affair. Because let's be honest, you're still
Technically, yeah.
married.
Yeah.
And then you just say, oh, I need to see what she needs. Like, talk to her, tell her, hey, I'm so sorry that she showed up. I know this probably isn't great, but let me go see what she needs and then I'll meet you back at the house and we'll talk about this and we'll
Right.
talk through what happened, whatever. I don't know, just more than I need to see what she needs and then leaves her and then doesn't talk to her. So, anyways, so let's move on. January was being a little dramatic and playing Everybody Hurts on repeat as
Oh
she's
my
laying
God.
on the boat
I forgot about that. Oh my
She's
God.
on repeat too. She
on
repeated it like
repeat
at
over
least
and over
two
and
more
over.
times
Yeah. And so
while reading the letters. Like,
well, she was
so
done reading the
dramatic.
letters, so she was like just laying on the
Okay.
boat at this point, just playing the song over and over. Everybody, I know the
Like,
song in
are
my
we
head.
13? Like, are you a teen?
Yeah.
Like, this is teenage behavior.
So she's thinking about having to face her deepest hurt, and it's that something she really hasn't quite faced yet, and that is her father was gone and she would always miss him. So she's finally admitting, okay, my dad's gone. He's dead. I'm never gonna be able to talk to him. I'm always gonna miss him. Because I feel like she's been avoiding that fact too. He's gone,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
she's just like, it has to be okay. So she finally gets up, she starts gathering the letters, but then she pauses and she thinks, "Oh, I have to go home to the house that's next to Gus's house." And so now having to go deal with that problem, right? And so she goes home. She realizes it's been hours since everything happened, and she still hasn't gotten a phone call from Gus, not even a text, nothing. So she starts crying. And so she calls her best friend, or no, not calls her. She texts her and she says, I need you. And so, of course, I think her name's, what is it, Shoddy?
Shoddy. Yeah.
Yeah, she tells
Shoddy.
her first train out. So her best friend's on her way. And I know we haven't really talked a lot about her and Shadi, but they actually do talk a lot through the whole book. And I love their conversations. I love the
Hmm.
text that they have with each other. So, that one doesn't feel as random here. So she calls one other person that she feels like she really needed to talk to, and that was her mom. And so when her mom asked if she was okay, because she calls her like really late,
In the middle of the night.
yeah, January tells her no. And so her mom said, tell me, honey, I'm here now. Just tell me everything. And so finally, January tells her everything. She starts with why her and Jacques broke up, everything that happened with her dad, her being out just everything, right? So
Hmm.
Shadi arrives the next morning at 10 a.m. And I love this part with her best friend. It's just so funny because she's just being really honest with her. And so she shows up with fresh food from the farmer's market, and she told her that before the booze and the crying that she needs a vegetable and probably eggs or something. So she cooks her brunch, but she tells her she has to get out of her give up pants, and that she's not going to cook for her unless she puts on real clothes. So after they eat, Shadi insists on cleaning the dishes, and afterwards she insists on cleaning the whole house. So they finally do. And January admits that it makes her feel so much better. So she admits that the deep cleaning puts her in a trance. And then she says that the first phone call from Gus came about 11 a.m., but January doesn't answer. Then he tries again 20 minutes later, but he left no voicemail or no text. So she turns her phone off and just puts it in a drawer and ignores him, right? So at about 6 p.m., they finish, they make dinner, they watch a movie, and they don't talk about anything. After they're done with the dishes, Shadi finally says, all right, let's start at the beginning. So they talk all night, and then a storm starts happening, right? So Shadi tells her, hey, I think it was time for you to fall in love. All this time I've known you, and I've never gotten to see it. I think it was time. And so when she was asking her, well, what about Jacques? Like, I was in love with Jacques, or I loved Jacques, right? And Shadi says, I know you love Jacques, and maybe in the end, it's the same thing you would wind up with, but with him, you never fell, Janie. You marched straight in. And then she continues to say, falling's the part that takes your breath away. It's the part where when you can't believe the person standing in front of you both exist and happen to wander into your path. It's supposed to make you feel lucky to be alive, exactly when and where you are. And so January thinks to herself that she definitely feels that way about Gus, but she also tells her that she feels that way about Shadi. So she obviously loves her best friend. And so after a moment, Shadi assures January, I'm sure he loves you too. I can feel it. So they drift off to sleep, and then she hears a pounding on the door, and it happens to be Gus calling out for January. And so he keeps pounding on the door, and January doesn't get up. And so Gus says, please, please, January, I won't keep asking if you don't want me to, but please talk to me. And then he falls silent, and then she kind of looks at Shadi, was like, what would you do? She's like, you already know what you're going to do. And so finally, like, January snaps out of it. She runs to the door, but realizes it's kind of too late, right? Because he's not there anymore. And so I was really also kind of annoyed with this whole situation too. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So she runs outside in the rain looking for him and notices that his car was gone. So she starts getting really upset and wants to start crying because she thinks that he left. And so she was upset at herself for pushing Gus away. And so she notices a light coming from his house, and he starts coming out and playing. I tried to look up the song. I haven't heard it. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it's Nothing Compares to You by Science. What?
Sinead O'Connor?
Sinead
Sinead
O'Connor?
O'Connor.
Girl,
Yeah.
You don't
And
know.
so I don't know
You're
that
so-
come
song.
on.
I looked it up. I was just like, I've never heard this song
Wow.
before. Anyways, so so Gus starts playing the song and walks back out, and he reaches January and says, I didn't plan this well at all. And then he starts to dance with her in the rain. And he reminds January that he once promised that he would learn to dance with her in the rain. And so that's what they do. And so, of course, January is still in her head. And I'm just like, good Lord, woman, can you not see what he's doing? Like, so she thinks to herself, it almost hurt being held by him like this, not knowing what he was about to tell me or whether this would be the last time he held me at all. Sorry, just had to laugh a little bit. After Gus tells her that he's been trying to call her, she only says, was that Naomi? And he tells her yes, that she was there because she wanted to talk to him, and that they went and grabbed a drink next door. I do not like how Gus breaks the news to her. I don't like everything that happens next either. So I'm just like, okay, Gus, you could have definitely worded this a lot better. And I was cringing while I was reading this. I don't know about y'all, but we'll get,
I was cringing
like,
this
oh,
whole
definitely.
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was cringing since the running out in the rain and crying because he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Gus tells January that he could see himself forgiving Naomi for what happened, and that he could even see himself getting back together with her. And he told her that Naomi wanted to make their marriage work and to give it another try. And so he tells January, when I think about you, I think about doing laundry with you, trying terrible green juice cleanses, and going to antique malls with you. I only feel happy. The world looks different than I ever thought it could be, and I don't want to look for what's broken or different. I'm sorry. And I don't want to look for what's broken or what could go wrong. I don't want to brace myself for the worst and miss out on being with you. I want to be the one who gives you what you deserve, and I want to sleep next to you every night and to be the one you complain about book stuff to. And so after his confession, January still feels very unsure. And she says, we're both wrecks. It's not just you. I wanted to think it was, but it's not. So finally she admits that she's not blaming everything on Gus. And she says, I'm a disaster. I feel like I need to relearn everything, especially how to be in love. Where would we even start? Then Gus tells her, when I watch you sleep, I feel overwhelmed that you exist. So after she mentions a happy ending for them both, because she says, well, are we going to get a happy ending? And he tells her that they should just enjoy their happy for now moments. And so January agrees, and then they keep dancing in the rain. So what did y'all think? First, like, what did y'all think about Shadi showing up and like helping her friend? And then how did you interpret the whole Gus confession? Because I'm like, I have so many thoughts on that, y'all.
Listen,
Yeah.
the only redeeming quality of this part right here is Shoddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a best friend moment, right? And I feel like any of us would have probably done this for each other, right? Like, hey, I'm having a really hard time. I need you.
Yep.
Fantastic. I'm going to drop
Yeah.
everything and I'm
Say
going to
less.
I'm going to go
I'm
to
there.
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um that is the best part of this section. Like you, Steph, I was cringing the whole time
Yeah.
where what would possess you in the middle of the night to it's raining first of all, and I love rain. I love a rain moment. I love a rain scene, right? You're kissing in the rain. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's pure gold when it comes to rom-com, and yet this rom-com seems to ruin it.
Yeah.
I don't it's so awful. What would possess you? I know. I'm going to walk up to her house and I'm going to bang on the door. What?
In the middle of the
In
night,
the middle
and
of
then
the night.
disappear.
Bitch, I'm gonna call 911. Like,
What? Like,
what makes you think that would be a good
Gus,
idea?
baby, it's not giving what you thought it would be giving.
It is not romantic, okay?
No.
And I feel like he thinks that he is having like a John Hughes moment, like with the radio boombox, and he's playing a song while looking up at a window at his love. That is not it. It is not the vibe.
We did not get that.
Jan seems to like it somehow. I don't know. And she is just as awful in this part as he is. And she goes to him and he's not there. And she immediately assumes the worst. It's over. Oh my God. I can't believe I lost him.
So dramatic.
And yeah. And you want cherry on top of dramatic. Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor in this moment. Are you kidding? That is just as dramatic as Everybody Hurts,
Yeah.
I could not stand this moment. I was so glad when I was finally done reading this. But yeah, I love Shadi. Like, she was great.
Yeah. Yay, bestie. Yeah, again, I don't have much more to add here. I did not like the scene. And to your point, Jen, the way he worded
Oh,
the reveal of like, I decided not to get back with my wife was so terrible because the whole time it sounded like he was going to give it another shot.
Yep.
And this woman's already spiraling, and we already know that she gets in her head about this stuff. So that was just bad.
yeah.
That was not the right way to go
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I felt like when I was reading that, I'm like, okay, rewind. I absolutely loved how her best friend showed up for her. Again, like you guys were saying, we would have all done it for each other. I think we've all been there for each other in times like that. So like, love this moment. I wish there was more shoddy moments with her. Like I said, I loved
Totally.
all the texts that they've had throughout the book. So I do love that they have that. I go back to the fact that like Gus did not handle this well at all, but also January either. Like he did try to call. He tried to
Mhm.
call her the next day several times. She completely ignored him. And so to me, that didn't really show a lot of growth. Like you just
Right.
finally faced Sonia. You just finally read all the letters about from your dad. You are somewhat accepting that all of that happened and we're just going to have to be okay with it. And you still can't face what's going on with Gus. Like you're still ignoring him. You're still thinking the worst. You're just not like at least respond. You know, you want to talk to him. You want
Right.
him clearly there. And so to me, that whole like, I'm going to ignore you part really annoys me because we all knew she was going to regret it, just like she did with her not opening the door, right?
Right.
I actually really liked the rain scene.
Love that for you.
Okay, so I know you guys are like super
Happy for you,
passionate.
girl.
I will say the timing is completely off. Yeah, you're right. Like this needed to happen probably way earlier. Like didn't need to happen when she had already pretty much given up on them. He needed to come to terms with this whole Naomi thing way sooner. And I think that took him also too long to kind of think through. I thought it was cute, especially since he promised that that was something he was going to learn. Because like to me, whenever he said he was going to learn how to dance in the rain, it was pretty much how to open up to someone, learning how to be vulnerable with someone, right? And so, because they talked about it in the very beginning of the book. So I do love that there was like a full circle moment here. I thought it was a cute scene. Sorry you guys hated it so much. I thought it was cute. Um, but I still hated the fact that January was doubting everything that was going on between them. I'm like, bro, like he just showed up. He's
Yeah.
been calling you. He's literally trying, he's like pounding on your door because he wants to talk to you. He's trying to come up with the cheesy moment because he knows you love those. And you're still saying, oh, this could be the last moment I see him. Like, dude,
Right.
come on, you know? But yeah,
Yeah. Even in their big romantic moment, she's still second guessing it and in her head
exactly.
about it.
Like
It's so
exactly.
annoying.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he could have definitely worded the whole Naomi thing better. Hey, she came
Yeah.
over, she wanted to make things work, but I told her no, I was in love with somebody else, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Like that could have been
Yeah.
so much better done. Anyways, so 9 months later, and January has
When I read that chapter name, I was like, 9 months.
I know, me too.
oh, I didn't even
Girl.
think about that. I did not think about that. That's hilarious. So 9 months goes by, and January has her advanced copy of her book, and it's titled The Great Family Marconi. And Gus's book was still in manuscript form. And so in the end, January's book had sold 3 weeks before his, but Gus's book had sold for a little bit more money. And so they both decided to ditch the pen names. They were proud of their books, and January already had another romance novel in mind. So this is not really clear who wins the bet because she sold hers first, but he sold for more money. So they don't really talk about the bet at this point. They just like, it is what it is.
It's
We both
over.
wrote good books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So January finally reads Gus's books, finally, like, took her long enough to read these books. And she thought that reading the revelatories had felt a bit like swimming through Gus's mind. Had you not, dude, read this sooner?
Funny
Like,
how that
right,
works.
right. Had you not read this sooner, we could have just like
What?
avoided so much stuff. And so she said she described it as heartbreaking and beautiful, but very, very funny in some moments and extremely odd in many, which is exactly what Gus is, right? So it turns out January sold her dad's house because I was wondering about this. I was wondering if she was going to stay or go. So she ends up staying, but in her own apartment because she sold her dad's house in February. And so she ends up, going back and forth between her apartment and Gus's house. So I thought this was funny where she admitted that her and Gus like to be grumps together because she called him a grump in the very beginning when she first met him.
Yeah.
But she's also a big grump too. Tomorrow was Gus's 33rd birthday, and he finally tells Markham that he doesn't want to party. So finally, that all he wanted to do was just sit on the beach and read. So that's exactly what they do. They exchange their novels with each other, and then they just sit and read for 2 days for like 2 days. So January finishes his novel first, and his book is called The Cup is Already Broken, which I thought was kind of an odd title. And she said
Hmm.
that it was nothing close to a rom-com, even though it did have a very strong romantic thread woven into the plot, and it had come extremely close to a happy ending. But basically, the protagonist of the book left the cult with all the evidence he needed. He even talked his girlfriend into leaving with him, and they were both very happy, very extremely happy together, but for no more than one page or two before the world-ending meteor the prophet had predicted hit the earth. And it's funny because the world didn't actually end. It only killed the two characters from the book, and they were the only two casualties in this meteor hit. So she waited while Gus finished her reading her book. And when he finally did, she tells him, so much for your happy ending. And he tells her it was a happy ending. They were happy. They had no regrets. They won. They didn't even have to see it coming. For all we know, they live in that moment forever, happy like that, together and free. And so then he tells her that her ending was happy because she was supposed to write a non-happy ending. And she tells her, hardly, the only boy Eleanor had even thought she loved is Mary now. So after January says that they both failed, Gus says, I don't think so. I think I wrote my version of a happy ending and you wrote your version of a sad one. We had to write what we think is true. So they didn't understand the assignment, I guess.
No, they did not. They're both losers.
Not at
Super.
all.
Oh my gosh.
So they head back to Gus's house, and when he flips the light on, people yell out surprise, and Pete, Maggie, and her mom happen to be there along with Shotty and her new boyfriend, and Markham is there as well, which again, Markham being there is weird to me.
The lawyer.
Right.
Weird.
So she's confused because there's a sign that says happy anniversary. And then Gus gets down on one knee and January jokes about another Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And Gus smiles and says, January Andrews, a year ago, I met you for the second time and it's changed my life. I don't care how it ends as long as I spend it all with you. And then he pulls out a piece of paper and it says, marry me. She immediately says yes, and everyone was really happy for them. And January thinks to herself, my happily ever after was a strand of strung together happy for nows, extending back not just to a year ago, but to 30 years before. Mine had already begun, and so this day was neither an ending nor a beginning. It was just another good day, a perfect day, a happy for now, so vast and deep that I knew, or rather believed, I didn't have to worry about tomorrow. So, what did you guys think about the ending? How did y'all think that redefined happily ever after? And were you guys satisfied with the ending?
No.
Geez, tell me how you really feel.
I am happy that they are happy. Period. Again, like at this point we knew this was coming, right? Because it is a romance and you do have to, like, by definition, you have to have your happily ever after or happy for now. I'm glad that there was some character development here, even though going back to the whole, book thing, even though I haven't really been a fan of January this whole time, I would have rather read her book. Like, I appreciate what he was trying to do with like the irony of it all in his book. And I get that he writes literary fiction, and that's why I don't read literary fiction. I don't,
Yeah.
it's too real, and I don't want that. I want to escape in a book.
Yeah.
I do not like literary fiction at all. It's depressing. To me, a lot of people love it, but I do not. Yeah, like, no, I'm happy that they're happy, and that's where I stand. Also, I was reading, the whole thing about the book sales, and my competitive nature was coming out, and I was like, okay, so they both lost, like,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
No one won the bet or whatever.
Yeah, that does not compute
Yeah.
for me. So yeah, I'm very much like Monica Geller in that sense. Like, I am highly
Like
competitive.
someone's got to win.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't play Pictionary with me because I am very competitive, and yeah, no, that didn't work out for me.
Taken. Yeah, no, I'm also glad they got engaged. Like, obviously that was predictable. We're reading a romance here. Yeah, the books sound interesting, I guess. I personally would have been more interested in reading Gus's just because I find cults to be fascinating.
It's true.
But yeah, I would have hated that ending. What the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned in our last episode, I knew they were gonna get their happy ending, just exactly what you guys said. I loved the little moment that they had, the way he proposed to her. Like, it goes back to their cute Taylor Swift moments, right? So I
Yeah.
absolutely ate that part up. Like, absolutely loved it. I kind of thought it was too soon. Like, sometimes with these books, they'll say like 2 or 3 years later, or like whatever years later, because I feel like they still both had a lot to kind of process and get through for them to get married 9 months later. But that's just me. Okay, friends, that is the end of our deep dive of Beach Read. Now let's move on to a segment we're calling Swoon and Tell, where we discuss some of our favorite quotes and moments that made us swoon. So for me, my favorite quote came from chapter 23, and it was whenever Gus was trying to tell January why he didn't want her to really be on the New Eden trip. And it was whenever he said, when you love someone, you want to make this world look different for them. And so he talks about how you just want to protect the person you love, right? And so I really loved that quote. I loved what he has been trying, or he has been telling her he's loved her for since forever. And so this is just another way for him to show her that, pretty much, that she just keeps misinterpreting, but he still tries, right? And my favorite moment came in chapter 28 when he proposed. I thought this was such a cute way to propose. And that was when he pulled out the piece of paper that says, "Marry me." I kind of wish she would have grabbed a piece of paper and said yes, kind of like what they did. That would have been
That
a
would have been
really
cute.
perfect like
Yeah.
moment. And she even thinks it to herself too. She's just like, "Oh, I know I should write back," but she says yes immediately. So that was definitely my favorite moment of this section. What about you guys?
So my favorite quote was when they finally told each other for real that they love each other. And then Gus said, and to think, he said, "You promised you wouldn't fall in love with me." Obviously, like cheesy, but we had to like close the circle on
Yeah.
that. So that was good. And then my favorite moment, it's in the same chapter, chapter 23 at the very end. This is when they had spent the night at that tent in New Eden. And so or Gus asks, "Are you happy, January?" "Extremely," I said. "Are you?" Asking Gus. And then he gathered me against him and kissed my temple. His voice crackled against my ear. "I'm so happy," he said. So that was just such a great moment. And finally, after all the miscommunication and the back and forth, like they're finally having a real moment where they're just, happy together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my favorite moment in this segment.
My favorite quote is Gus telling January that I want to be your perfect Fabio, right? Like, because that's like the mark of him being really vulnerable. He goes
Yeah.
on that whole monologue of him just like laying it all out there. And I appreciated that. And
Yeah.
I felt like that was well timed in the story, that like it needed to happen at that moment, and it
Yeah.
did, and that was
Yeah.
great. My favorite moment is truly Shoddy coming to the rescue, right? Like she does drop everything and she comes to January's rescue. I don't
Yeah.
know what that says about the book, that a secondary character is my favorite moment in this section, but it is what it
There it
is.
is.
It is what it is. I think that is a perfect segue into talking about our ratings for this book.
Yeah.
And so I'll go first,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So I do love a romance. I think I've said that before. I love Red, White, and Royal Blue. I've read things by Jasmine Guillory. Like I like a romance. And I've given several 5 stars. I do not give this one 5 stars. I gave this one a 3-star, solid 3-star rating. And I did like a lot of it, of what was going on. Like I loved the banter that they had. I thought that was really well written and it was funny to read. I actually, laughed out loud in some of those parts. January could just really frustrate the hell out of me. And I
Yeah.
don't think by the end of the book that it evened out enough for me to give it a higher rating. That is and Gus
Mhm.
too. Gus could be really frustrating as well. But
Yeah.
January just had more of those moments for me that were frustrating. And so that ultimately led me giving this one a 3-star. But I will say I do enjoy kind of venting about the book, And so
It was fun.
it was fun, and I did enjoy it in that sense. I just
Yeah.
this one wasn't for me, and I do know that there's a lot of sentiment out there about this book that's similar to that. Like it's people are on the fence about it, and I can see why.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people love it. Fantastic. I just wasn't one of them. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's go in ascending order, shall we? I gave this one a 3.5.
Okay.
So again, I am not a romance girly, but I enjoyed myself several times reading this book. So, you know, especially the banter between January and Gus, like they're great when they're great. They're horrible when they're not.
Yeah.
And like the miscommunication throughout just like really made this one hard for me to get through, you guys. And then like you, Ethan, I really was hoping for some more character growth from January, and we did not get that
Yeah.
like at all, I feel like. And then even Gus, like it seemed like he was working on it more than January was, but we didn't get to like actually experience that. So
Yeah.
That's why I gave this a little bit more of a lower rating than I have some of the other books that we've reviewed. And then yeah, Shadi was one of my favorite characters. And then like also shout out Pete and Maggie, love
Yeah.
them.
Yes, I do love those
I
and them.
really
Yeah.
love those characters.
All right, so I usually give a lot of my books a five, and I will say that when I was on Goodreads, because like as soon as I finish a book, I love to go to Goodreads and like go ahead and review it and give it a rating. Originally, I had it as a five, but then thinking back and like kind of talking through some of these moments with you guys, like made me realize that you know what, there was a lot of more. I had a lot more moments where like I disliked it, or like maybe that wasn't such a good part, or maybe like I was kind of frustrated reading that. So I I'm thinking now I want to give it a four. And I don't the only reason I don't want to go as low as like a three or a 3.5 is because like I really thought that the first 14 chapters were solid. I loved the
That's true.
banter. I loved their rom-com dates. They were so cute. I was living for their Taylor Swift moments. Like everything what like the start of the book, like I was just devouring. It was a lot of January's reluctance to grow that I think really knocked that star down for me because she just refused to acknowledge that she was the problem. And even towards the very end, she still really didn't acknowledge that she was the problem.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
hated the fact that like Gus really did try. He was trying from the beginning to tell her how much he cared about her, how much he loved her, how much he's been into her, and she was just like push back, push back, push back. And honestly, sometimes with books that I read, like I won't read it because of how stubborn the FMC is being. And even if you have a solid MMC, that still kind of puts me off because it's like I don't want to be reading about somebody fighting themselves for a whole book. It kind of
Yeah.
turns me off a little bit. But like all the
Yeah.
rom-com dates, I wanted more rom-com dates. Like that's what I was looking for more
Hmm.
of whenever we kind of started getting here. I wanted to know more about the books that they wrote, which really didn't get that much about either. The challenge thing kind of fizzled out for me too. And so it's just like that really
Yeah.
didn't come around full circle either. So those were moments that I really didn't, it could have been a five if more of that would have happened,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, book friends, that was the end of our deep dive on chapters 22 through 28, which also concludes Beach Read for us. Thank you for joining us and interacting with us in our socials. We've seen those comments come in and we love talking to you about it. We would love to continue that conversation here. Next week, we will be starting a new journey by diving into Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I am so excited, and I'm so excited to be your lore master for that round of deep dive discussions. PSA here that we are going to switch up our format just a bit by introducing a 3-2-1 concept. So here's what that means. For each section we read, each of us will bring to the table to discuss 3 things that stood out to us, 2 characters that had great moments, and 1 prediction we have going into our next section. So be sure to read along with us and join in on all the heist-like fun. Again, please interact with us on social media. We are Books Between Friends pod on all platforms. Be on the lookout for our podcast clips and join us in the discussion through our comments.
All right, guys, new book, new world. We're diving into the ash-covered streets and steel-laced skies of Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. In our first episode of this new deep dive, we're covering the prologue through chapter 7, where we will meet a brutal empire, a daring heist, and a street-smart girl named Ven with powers she doesn't fully understand. We're unpacking world building, first impressions, and the seeds of rebellion. It's gritty, magical, and full of secrets, and we're just getting started. So make sure you tune in to explore the beginning of this epic journey with us.